Well, good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? Pretty good here, and welcome to the channel. Hey, today I'm out cruising around in the Tacoma. Recently, I just had new wheels and tires put on. I went back to more OEM style because I'm going to put the original, or I should say the other aftermarket wheels and tires that I had on the next truck. So, I went over in another video what I had put on, so I'm not going to go over all that again. But, how is it? How's the feel? You know, I had talked before, made a couple videos about the ride quality after I did the lift. And it's a 3.2 ready lift, and I put 20-inch fuel wheels with Nitto Ridge Grapplers on. And I had commented before about how the ride was different, the ride quality was more rough, and I kind of attributed that, honestly, to the lift unfairly a little bit. And since then, I had put a lift on the Tundra, and I noticed absolutely no difference in the way it felt with the original OEM wheels and tires. I have not changed the wheels and tires on that truck. So I thought it would be very interesting to find out if after I switch back to a more OEM style wheel and tire on the Tacoma, if I noticed any difference in the ride quality. You know, was it really the lift that had anything to do with the ride quality, or was it the wheel and tire setup? Well, I can tell you now, after having a little bit of seat time in the Tacoma with the new wheels and tires on, that it definitely is a function of the wheels and tires. It is for sure not the lift, because this truck now feels perfectly smooth. It doesn't feel rougher like it did before with the aftermarket wheels and tires on. Now, I'm not saying it's a horrible thing, you know, that the ride is now terrible or something because of, you know, was terrible rather, because of the tire and wheel setup. It's definitely rougher. You definitely felt more in the road than I do with this setup. So I can safely say that I think that it's not the lift that changed the ride quality of the truck. It indeed was the wheels and tires, and primarily the tires. And that's something to look out for, I guess. If you're in the market or you're looking to change your wheel and tire setup on your truck, probably should be aware that if you're going to go with a more aggressive wheel and tire setup, that you're going to have a more aggressive, that's a good word, a more aggressive ride feel than what you had before. Certainly not going to be what it was with stock, which makes sense. I mean, if you think about it and you put a more aggressive tire setup on, you know, with those deeper, bigger treads than what you get with just a regular, you know, all-season tire, you are going to get a different ride. As far as the power of the truck, you know, a lot of people talk about, you know, when you put bigger wheels or bigger tires on the truck itself, and this is specifically for the Tacoma and its V6 motor, it's going to be less powerful because it's going to have to move those wheels and tires that are heavier. And obviously what I put on was probably quite a bit heavier than what the truck came with. And I will say that the truck does feel more responsive, it feels quicker than it did with the Nitto tires on, the heavier, bigger tires. And it makes sense, really. I mean, it is a V6. It's not, you know, 400, 500 horsepower or whatever. So it does have to, it has to move. It has to carry those bigger, heavier tires as opposed to those thinner, lighter, well, not necessarily thinner, but lighter tires that were on it before from the factory. So I do indeed notice a more responsive, or maybe just a quicker ride. It feels peppier, at least off the start, with these lighter tires. So there is a benefit or a loss there, I guess, if you go with a bigger, heavier tire. You are going to rob the truck of some of its power, if you will. or at least how it feels in the driver's seat when you're cruising around with those heavier tires. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about was the speedometer. You know, when you put the taller, bigger diameter tire on, you are going to change the speedometer as far as the accuracy of the readout. You know, I was about 3 or 4 miles an hour faster when I had the bigger wheels on, the bigger tires, I should say, than I am now. Right now, I'm about a mile an hour, you know, 1 point some odd slower than the actual speed limit. So if I'm going 55 per the readout on the speedometer, I'm actually going 54-ish. So there is a difference, of course, and it makes sense. Now, there are recalibration programs out there, or some software, I guess, that you can get similar to a tune kind of thing, and it may even be part of a tune that you can get, I'm not sure, to adjust the speedometer based on the wheel size or the tire size that you have. I've heard, and I've not found anybody that does it yet, but I've heard that there are shops that you can take it into, and they have a program that they can get into your system, and they can recalibrate your speedometer based on the size of the tires that you have. The cost on that, from what I've heard, is about $200. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's kind of steep to pay $200 just to have your speedometer read a mile or 2 or 3 or 4, in my case, with the bigger tires, more accurately. You know, I just stayed aware that, you know, my speedometer was off because of the setup, and adjusted my driving accordingly, rather than spending that $200. But if it's important to you, I guess, and you really want to make it as accurate as possible, then it might be worth it to go out and spend that couple $100, something like that. Me personally, I never did, because frankly, it just didn't matter to me that much. I paid attention to the speedometer anyway, so I just knew to go a little bit slower than it read to stay at whatever speed I wanted to be at, so it wasn't a big deal. So, what's my take on it in the end? You know, is it worth it to go with bigger wheels and tires if you're concerned about ride quality? I would say that if you're very, very sensitive to that, then probably not. I mean, because you are going to be reducing the ride quality that you have in the truck if you go with a bigger, more aggressive tire setup. If you're not sensitive to that, or if maybe the look is more important to you, then I guess it doesn't matter, right? So I was happy with what I had. If I was going to keep the truck, I wouldn't have taken the wheels and tires off, even now knowing that I do have a smoother, I guess a little bit more comfortable ride with the more, or the closer to OEM size setup that's on it right now. So for me, it didn't make that big of a difference. As far as the cost goes, I went over that in a previous video. You know, to change this whole thing out, they were running sales and all that stuff. Cost me right about $1,000 for the new wheels and the new tire setup. The tires that are on it now, if you want to know what all that is, check out the previous video. I'll leave a link up here so that you can go back or go check out what I did if you're interested in that. As far as the look on the truck, well, obviously it doesn't look as good as it did before, I don't think. I love the fuel wheels and the Nitto Ridge Grapplers on this truck. I think it looks great. I think it looks great on any lifted Tacoma. And one question I'll pose out there to you guys, I've been going back and forth on this. You know, I am looking to trade the truck in on the 2020 when it comes out. Right now, and as you saw it in the beginning, it does still have the lift on it. What do you think? How does it look? Is it worth it to go in and take the lift off to bring it down a little bit? It would be, what, 1 inch in the front, I guess, and 2 inches in the rear or whatever, to lower the truck back to the way that it was when I got it new. Does it look funny with the smaller diameter wheels and tires that I have on it now? Because really all I have to pass when I take it in, I think, is the look test from the dealer. I mean, if I pull in and the truck looks freakishly weird, that's probably going to be a negative to the value of the truck, because my guess is they'll want to put it back to as close to stock as they can, and that's going to cost them money, which ultimately is going to cost me money. So leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the appearance of the truck right now. Is it good enough? Is it good enough to trade in, or is it something that that I probably should go ahead and have it put back to the way that it was, OEM style? As usual, appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the web. Have a great day. Bye.